All right, who wants to make a sign? Raise your hand. Okay, I see you. So you guys are going to be making this 1 inch deep. Essentially, it's a really big blade sign, 140 inches, 42 tall. Really not a lot going on. I just want to point out my way of thinking. You guys could probably figure it out just from the PDF, but I just want to point out a couple things. That way it might not cause any issues. Otherwise, this thing is just as straightforward as it gets. So, but with that, let's do the lay of the land real quick. So we got some frame parts. You got sort of a top little sunshine, sunrise, sunset thing. You got the jiggies for all that. You got your radius corner end pieces and your sunrise, sunset, and then skins. So keeping with Operation Supermodel, keeping everything light, keeping everything lightweight, skinny, thin to win. So kind of think what you just did with the 5x10s for Shelly's, where you are incorporating extrusion into a routed sort of CNC thing. So what you're going to do to start is go ahead and make up essentially 3 little signs. You're going to make these little end caps. So you're going to take your jiggies and you're going to wrap the end cap around it, and then go ahead and put this cap over there on this side, tack it all together, clean it up, and get it ready for Lords. Then you're going to go ahead and put this little strip. You're going to rivet that on, because that strip is going to act as a little support for when you bring in your 1x1. Spoiler alert. So that little strip will just help to hold that together, so that way you keep this nice. That way this guy doesn't want to sink down, and then give you problems right there. So we have that little support there. So get those end caps ready, rivet those on, do those 2, get this guy going. There's no end caps or anything. And go ahead and put your middles in there, tack it all together, get it cleaned up, ready for Lords. Then once you have those guys good to go ahead and put these guys together, C-channel, one guy goes inside the other, rivet it up, and then that's going to give you your supports across the inside. And then you have 2 for seams. So the seams just have double 165s, and they'll go where it says seam. Because the faces, unfortunately, have to be, seamed. They're not quite at 140, so they have to be seamed up. So what you're going to do is get these guys built, and then what I would do is take the back face. I went ahead and put a B on it, and I went ahead and labeled everything, but technically there is not going to be a face or a back once these things are done. Once they're bonded up and clean, there isn't a front and a back, so don't worry about it. But just for assembly purposes, I think it's just easier to think this way. So what I would do is go ahead and cleco on your half circle, cleco it to the back, and go ahead and cleco on your end caps, and then go ahead and cleco in your interstitial frame pieces all the way along, and just make sure everything fits. Then I would go ahead and cut our 1x1 by 1/8. 1/28 is what we're looking at, but that's right at that. So maybe you might just need just a skosh, tiny bit shy, might be all you want is to make that fit in. And then that should fit with a 0.01 in between each of the bars, like very similar to the 5x10 Shelly's you did. And then that should also fit with a 0.01 between the sunrise. So that should just slot right in there, and it should butt up against those. And again, I'm giving you that little pro tray right there, a little tray to hold it up. That way this will be a nice strong thing all the way across, and just a couple little seams there to bondo up. Otherwise it'll be nice and clean. So then what I'm thinking is that if it all kind of fits well, then just go ahead and move these out of the way temporarily. And I would go ahead and just Lords everything to the backside first. So go ahead and Lords these in permanent. And I would just go ahead and Lords in all the middle guys, and then make sure it's kind of clean. And then while you're having that Lords party, then go ahead and Lords in your sticks. And make sure that's all even with the bottom. Make sure this is all even there. Maybe put a little Lords in there if you can, whatever. So, but the faces will hold it together. And then this side will be where you put your seam for your face there. Make sure that's all covered up nice. And then that will take care of the back. Once that's all Lords together and looking good, then it's just a matter of taking the front side and go ahead and put it on there. The front and the back, I went ahead and made sure that the seams, once, this is routed face down basically. So once this gets flipped, it'll stagger the seams for strength. So you'll have one seam there on the face, one seam on the back. But again, technically it doesn't matter. Everything about this is symmetrical. The only thing that's not, just so you know, is the sunrise. I went ahead and put these kind of round sides where it's not supposed to be there. That way it keeps it, you'll know which side to put these little frame pieces on. But the center is the only one that's basically offset. So, but it's not the end of the world if those cleco holes don't line up. But that would be the only thing that if you accidentally, for some reason, got it like switched around, it doesn't really matter that much. But I have a left and a right based on the back. But again, it's not the end of the world if it gets flipped. It's just that these holes will not line up, but everything else should be symmetrical with a mirror flip. So anyway, so it's just one big Lord's party. But like I said, that's it. I just wanted to point out what I was thinking. Get these riveted up, get these like built separately, build this separately. And then it's just one big Lord's party. Clean it all up, make sure it's sexy. Just keep in mind, everything's 063. So like I said, we're trying to keep it light, keep it inexpensive. But again, these kind of get wavy. Let's just make sure everything gets nailed down nice. Try to keep it as flat as possible. Watch out for dents and all that. So, but otherwise, that's it. I think you can knock it out in a day and be back on track with CV Link. So, but as always, if you have any questions, hit me up. Check the technique.